So I'm going to give a personal example of how the administrative state works and how we need to get rid of it. This would be in regards to how the nursing board is part of the administrative state. They really are, okay? Because I had to go before them because of the first nursing job, when really it should have been the chief nursing officer. But this is how the game is played. This is why nurses don't speak up. This is what, because of the shit they will do to you, okay? Because the administrative state has all the control. So, and I didn't know this. Like, had I just, and I learned after that if they're going to make a bunch of bullshit up about you that you know isn't true, but, you know, they're trying to get rid of you, and in this case, there was a nursing union voted in, okay? I talked about it enough times what happened. I'm not going to go into all that, but that was the reason why then I fought back. So here's what happened. We didn't have a contract. I was voted on the bargaining team. The nursing union was voted in Illinois Nurses Association. Our rep was decent. Okay, he was not a bad person because he's not in the higher echelons of Illinois Nurses Association, which is tied to American Nurses Association. He was a good guy. He really was. He was the one that told me to rescind the resignation. Okay, and then it was just downhill from there. Because really what they do is they make the hospital, the chief nursing officer, makes some bullshit up and then comes after you, and then nurses will usually quit. And I had quit, basically because I thought, no, you know that this is bullshit. I'm not going to tolerate this. But because we had voted this union in, I should have gone to I guess you're never supposed to go meet, if anybody in administration, if you're in a union, you're not supposed to go without your rep. Well, we had just voted it in. So I think they had told us, but I forgot. And I didn't think people would be this wicked. I really didn't. I mean, call me naive, I guess, back then. But I hadn't had any problems. So they knew I was voted on the bargaining team. So they, at the end of the day, called me in the office. And I've said this, they accused me of something they knew wasn't true. And it's something that's horrific to do to somebody with no evidence, just making statements. And it was to get me to quit, which I did. That's what they wanted. And then the end was there because this nursing union was never to go anywhere. It was to help this hospital so that they could say to the state, we need to close. We can't afford a nursing, to deal with nursing unions. So, and they did that 2 years later, by the way. But, so when the rep told me to rescind the resignation, then that's when the battle began. Because if you don't just quit, then the hospital does their bullshit investigation, okay? Like, that's not biased, okay? So they put me through all this nightmare that they knew wasn't true. And then to make an example of you, they will report you to the board. So then when you go to the board, and most nurses, you don't want to find yourself in front of the board, because at least when I was in nursing school, we were told that's the only place where you will walk in guilty. You are not innocent. They've already decided, and that's the truth. That's how corrupted the system is. And the nursing board itself is really an administrative arm. I should have been allowed to, first of all, it shouldn't have been me that was having to go defend myself. But if anything, I should have been able to call that damn nun, that chief nursing officer, so that I could say, no, these are the people. But they didn't care. They didn't care. I even brought the letter that the kids signed, and employees that I had worked with had written letters. They didn't care. I had to hire a lawyer. So they know you can't afford this stuff. So that's the reason why nurses will not speak up, because they know more power lies with the hospital. And the hospital will, at the very least, try to bankrupt you while you're fighting them. But and really, it's a win-win for them, because then they can make an example of you. See, we'll report you. I shouldn't have been reported. They should have been. But they wanted to make an example of me. So, and it didn't go anywhere, by the way. It didn't, and here's why. First of all, you're not in front of a judge. So how is that legit system? But then it's the nursing board. There's one in every state. So I don't get to go before an actual judge or an actual court. I go before a lawyer. Yeah, lawyer. That's who's deciding my nursing fate. There's always, when you go before the nursing board, there's always a nurse that sits in on your case. The nurse that sat in on my case just happened to be with Illinois Nurses Association at another hospital. She knew the dirty tricks hospitals will do to go after union members, especially those that are on bargaining teams. Because we didn't have a contract yet, but the day before they went after me, there was 2 of us that were on the bargaining team. They had tried to pull the other nurse down. They went after her first, but she remembered that she shouldn't meet with them before without a rep with her. I didn't realize it. I mean, I forgot about it because we had just voted it in. So she was the first one, but it didn't work because she said, no, I won't meet with you without my rep. So they just bypassed it altogether, and then the next day called me down to the office and see if I'd come down, and I did without the rep. So anyway, so the nurse that was sitting in on my case when they decided to go deliberate, what the lawyer did, that nurse told the lawyer, no, this is what hospitals will do. They'll make up stuff, they'll target you, they'll do anything they have to go after people on a union bargaining team member. So when the lawyer and her came back in, to tell me what my fate was, the lawyer said, I would not have believed any of this, nothing that you've said. But this nurse that sat in on your case told me that, no, this is some of the things that happen when a nursing union is brought in. And that hospitals will target bargaining team members. So because of that, it was wiped away. But she told me, had that nurse not been sitting in on my case, and told her that, she said, you would have not been walking out of here, because she had already decided, this lawyer. So there's nowhere else for me to go, really, because I think you can go up higher and fight it, but you have to have a ton of money too. Nurses don't have that kind of money. So nurses know the trick the administration will play, even if you're not in a union. So that's how the administrative state works. I should have never had to go before the board, been treated the way that I was, not listened to, have nobody, even that damn lawyer didn't care what that kid said, that he had been manipulated by the chief nursing officer. So that's why it took me a couple years to process all that, because of all the layers of people that, first of all, didn't care about a kid, that had that staff, that a social worker, that the kid wrote down, that the chief nursing officer was trying to manipulate him and get him to lie and say, stuff about me. Nobody cared about any of that. That's how corrupted and set up the system is against you. And most people would say, oh no, you're being paranoid. It's No, I experienced it. Because that hospital should have been brought before real judges to account for their actions. That chief nursing officer that tried to get the kid, tried to manipulate the patient that was a kid, she should have been before a judge. But because of the administrative state, which is really your board of nursing, which isn't a judge at all, it's a lawyer, they get to decide your fate. So the stack of cards is against you from the very beginning. So for those that wonder why nurses don't speak up, it's because nobody wants to deal with that. You're putting your whole career on the line. And I get still people should do the right thing, but it's scary to nurses. But we should not live under that system. That's why the administrations of these hospitals, they should not have this kind of power. Because when they have this kind of power, what the kind of chief nursing officers that they will put in will be garbage. Most of the time. Sometimes you'll have good ones, but most are going to go along with administration. And some of them will do the most horrible things. I've seen it in more than one job, how bad they will be just to try to get you to quit. That's your administrative state. That should not be part of our Constitution. It's not in our Constitution, and it's got to go. Every nurse should be allowed, if they're going to be accused of something, to go before a judge, and if so, a jury, and be able to call all the people that were involved, when it was all the people in my case that were involved that were the ones that were guilty.